Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Link to the Past Randomizer tournament. We've got a very exciting match for you all today at the conclusion of probably one of the most exciting sets so far in this tournament between Andy and zerorush. My name's Willard J. Bradley, and I'm joined today by Apathy Duck. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super tired, but it's totally worth it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you watched any of the races yesterday. It's a joke because you commentated the first one. But pretty interesting couple of races between these two. Lots of drama, lots of last locations, lots of shenanigans. So, Chad, if you haven't seen the other races, I don't know why you would be here. But if you haven't, I would highly recommend you watch them and then come back and watch this VOD. But if you don't care about that, because we're already in the future, then please stick around. This is going to be a good race. Appy, what are we doing today? So, because you can change the rules depending on which game you're in, which is game 3. So there's 2 rule changes potentially. What are we going to be seeing today?
Yeah, so after the first match, Zero lost, and he chose to do MC Shuffle, which puts it's like key sanity light. It puts the maps and the compasses into the greater item pool and decouples them from the specific dungeons. So effectively, all the dungeons have 2 extra items in them, and then it's the standard key sanity rules where the maps, you don't know where the pendants and crystals are until you find the map. And then after zerorush took the second game, Annie decided to go with 6-6, which what that means is both Ganon's Tower access and Ganon vulnerability require only 6 crystals. So we won't have to clear all 7. It does have the possibility of items to unlock the 7th crystal being in Ganon's Tower, so it may just be that we can only complete 6 dungeons before getting there. It does increase the likelihood of things like either being a hover seed or the mimic clip if only one of either Eastern or Pod is crystal. You can just skip the bow and do stuff like that. So I think Andy picked that. I think he mostly picked it just because he thinks that stuff's cool. zerorush knows all that stuff too. I don't think either of those guys could pick anything that would give them a distinct advantage over the other one. So I think they were just making picks on what they thought would be fun.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. 6-6, yeah, as you were saying, can make things extremely interesting, or it basically just turns one of the crystal dungeons into a pendant dungeon, which is less cool. As a runner, as a viewer, it's great. It's fantastic. You know, we like to see more wild plays from these runners. But, you know, from watching the 2 races yesterday, it's like these guys they're so good at this game. And I'm so excited to watch these 2 perform for us. So we'll see what we got going on today.
Yeah, and both are starting in Link's house again. Both these guys have been doing this every single match, so not surprising. We're just going to get a standard opening here, taking the sign, killing a guy, trying to get a drop, and then getting the tree pulls.
Yeah, there's 3 sets of tree pulls that you can get depending on how many enemies you kill and whether you take damage. This is the first one, which we're going to get blue rupees, which is not great, but not bad. I mean, it's better than hearts or, you know, something or fairies, something useless. We will need rupees later on in the match as well. Let's see what we got over here in the secret passageway. We got a map, our first one to Misery Mire. And I missed what Andy pulled. What do you find?
It looks like 10 arrows, so nothing great.
Okay. All right, well.
Yeah, just standard. That right there is the first decision point. I know if Andy even fills up on bombs, he will go into escape right away with that. But not pulling up anything, not being able to do escape, they're just going to come straight to Sanctuary and probably go straight to Kakariko.
Yeah.
Well, after Lost Woods.
Finding the gloves there is really nice. So as soon as they find some bombs, they could consider routing in the back of escape. That's 3 items there. And if there's a small key back there, they could even consider going through the dark room to get to the Dark Cross. The thing to keep in mind about map and compass shuffle is that every dungeon has extra items. Escape has 1 extra item because the map is shuffled outside of it, or it could still be in there. So that's something to keep track of. I personally, the tough decision is whether you route this way or you go south to Kakariko. When you're thinking about them finding bombs, because getting to Kakariko without any bombs in hand is kind of frustrating. because you kind of have to route a little silly. Either you have to go down and buy bombs, or you just have to hope and pray, hopping either into the back of Cackwell or going into Blind Set without bombs and hoping you get some there. There's a good chance you will, but there's the off chance that you don't, and then you're going to lose a little bit of time there.
Yeah, I always prefer this northern route. These guys have both done this exact route all 3 times. Like you said, there's a bunch of places to get either bombs or rupees. You got the tree poles, you got a couple easy kills you can get. There's like 3 or 4 chests already.
They just walked past one of the 50-50 bomb poles. One of the rocks over there on the right side has a 50-50 shot of dropping bombs.
Yeah, that's one I never remember. A little more surprising seeing, Andy plays Randomizer a lot and definitely knows all these little things. Oh, he's coming to the Mario tree pole. Another one
you don't really, yeah, you don't see that one ever, so that's cool. Yeah, we got a sword in the back of the tavern as well.
Yeah, a little surprising. He's got 62 rupees, so he's got money for bombs, which is kind of like your first checkpoint. Obviously needs some more money for bottle vendor. But like your opponent, especially, if I don't know if these guys really looked at the matches, they know they're both doing the opening route. So if you miss bottle vendor, you're pretty sure your opponent's going to miss it too. So it's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really kind of comes down to what we find along the way here in Cackwell, Blindside, and Chicken Nut having 20 rupees. So already, get a little bit closer to that 100 rupees. We have seen in the past several times players having to farm rupees, like in Blind's Hut, to either get an item off bottle vendor, or even the worst scenario of having to farm Zora money, which Zora is technically in logic with that glove.
I've had a couple of farming Zoras. The Zora, I've turned into the if you're in the situation where you need to farm for Zora in Blind Set, you go gambling to Lost Woods. Just roll those dice, baby.
There you go. Ooh, nice hammer we got here. What else? Anything else? And a book. All right, well, book is interesting this early. I doubt we'll see a pedestal check from these players yet. Probably try and hope to route that in later, maybe with Skull Woods if they find a mirror. Book also opens up desert, so there's, the possibility of our Moon Pearl being in desert or on desert ledge. So, of course, those are a couple things that these players have to think about now. But still plenty more items to find along the way. Let's see if Blind's Hut is holding more secrets. We might just have Darkwood access right now. Ooh, you like to see that too. Getting a bottle right in Kakariko, so that's just one last check you have to consider coming back all the way here for. And that's going to be plenty of rupees for the bottle vendor, so get to check both those out of the way too.
Yeah, bottle and flute are 2 things people look for before they maybe decide to come to Kakariko. So having one in Kakariko does make it nice. Again, these guys have opened like this every single time, so it's probably not a concern for either one of them, but as we mentioned, these are just 2 really good competitors, just really excellent at this game. So they're going to be looking for any tiny edge they can find over each other.
All right, so leaving Kakariko with a bottle and a hammer and a book, that's going to be about it. We do have 2 more checks south of here. The library, which requires the boots to acquire that item. And then the item that's at the maze race, which most players will just go ahead and check it. Instead of, from the bottom so that they can save and quit out if it's nothing. I don't know how many players will just blind check it. Sometimes I'll blind check it if Kakariko doesn't give me anything. So I'm like, there's got to be something over here, right? Kakariko couldn't possibly be this empty.
Yeah, I'll blind check it especially if I have a weapon. I really don't want to waste a bomb if I don't have to early on. So here with a sword, and I might, decide just to go ahead. And it looks like both of them are going to just scout it out first.
All right, so this is looking like a trip to the back of Escape. That's going to be 3 items, and if we get that small key, checking Dark Cross is not that bad when you have a sword, because, of course, when you're charging a sword in the dark, you can kind of follow the little sparkle trail, and these runners are pretty familiar with dark rooms at this point, so...
Yeah, coming back to front for Dark Cross is annoying, so pretty much just because of the key rat. You never know where he is. Link to the Past does have stereo audio, though, which can help a lot with that guy.
Well, we get a bug net here, which is cool, I guess. Small key, though. Zerorush going to go ahead and go to the back. And he's going to leave. All right. Well, here's our first minor divergent. This ends up being something important for Zerorush. This could help him, get a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, the only thing that bugged it, normally that wouldn't mean anything, but Andy did try to fairy revive hover the other day, so if we find boots early, we may be going for that again.
I don't know if he did try and do that again, but if he does,
he'll go for it again.
I wouldn't be surprised.
If he thinks it's useful. I mean, he's not going to just do it just to do it, but
Yeah. All right, I want to see what Zero Rush finds before he's looking for that chest. Yeah, it's a little hard to find if you don't have, obviously, a fire source, but like, nah, just 10 arrows. All right, so Andy not losing out on anything. So what Andy did there was a really weird little thing where basically bombing himself into the back of Escape kind of messed up the camera, sends him into Houlihan, where he gets some money. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. But yeah, he's done this every single race. So he's pretty comfortable spending the extra time to get 225 rupees, especially with, Zora being in Logic. You have to be thinking about that.
Yeah, I like where he's doing it too. Some players like to do it really early, and you never really know how much money the seed's going to get you. But Houlihan always spits you out at Link's house, so you can combo in with like the South Shore checks, which Andy's doing right now, pretty efficiently instead of just doing it as a random one-off.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about it, and especially with the early gloves, you can do it pretty quickly from the back of Escape. There is also another way of doing it over by the ferry drop down, which is near the witch's hut. But we didn't see that.
Yeah, some players get worried. You can get into a state if you get flippers before you get gloves that you really can't do a Houlihan anywhere. This is one I don't know about. So some players just like doing it early because if you find those early flippers, then sometimes you're like, well, now I have no way of getting money. So,
jeez, Minnie Moldern's having all the bombs. Wow. Oh wow, there is the boots. 10 minutes in, you got to be feeling great. I love early boots.
I just love early boots from these two guys because they know how to use them really well, and pretty much all the cool tech in this game requires boots. So.
Personally, this game just ramps up in fun once you get the boots. Like,
yeah,
I just enjoy this game so much more when you have the boots. So if I'm playing a rando seed and I'm 2 hours in entering GT and I find the boots, I'm like, no, it's too late. I'm already not having fun. You can't save this run now.
Then you forget that you have them at that point because you just played 2
exactly.
hours without them. You like walk through 3 more rooms.
I gotta say, Andy playing a little risky running around the crabs with only 2 HP because they do 2 hearts of damage. But he gets there just fine. He's gonna run along this edge here, which is gonna do something nifty a little bit later. I'm curious to see if he's gonna just store it or if he's gonna use it right away.
Yeah, and Zero's gonna be doing the same thing. We'll see if they do different things with it. So basically what happened, dash along that pit, sets some weird variable, and if you jump south onto water, you can do a water walk glitch, which Andy is showing off right now. So Andy just used it right away. What Zero's doing is actually he's doing a fake flipper right here, transitioning on the same frame that you jump into the water. And this will allow him to store the water walk. So after he gets the hobo, he'll then be able to jump south and be in the state that Andy's in right now.
Oh, this is interesting. Did Andy even check what was on the Zor ledge, or is he just going?
I've seen some people do this. This is just like a different way of routing. The problem is it's hard to like combo everything in together. But yeah, it's a little weird he didn't even check Zor's. I'm not entirely sure if he did or not because I was looking at Zero while I was explaining what he was doing.
It's interesting because it's like I guess he's probably gonna go back, but it's just like I'm gonna do the sequence broken stuff and then skip the stuff that's in Logic. But no, he's gonna go back. Generally, yeah, I if I'm in this situation, I do the route that Zero Rush took, the story fake flipper.
I know. Specifically, P-Train's talking about this, where you use the boots to get to, but usually you check the waterfall or the ledge. I think this is just a brain fart on Andy's side, where he just went, "Oh, I forgot to check the ledge," because going all the way around the world like this doesn't make a lot of sense.
All right, well, once again, another item, but this time Andy's going to be getting an item that Zero Rush isn't getting, That Houlihan really coming into play, and he's going to be able to grab this item from Zora. If it's something big, I mean, this is kind of the scary thing is if this is something huge, I don't know when Zero Rush is going to go back there. Might be a while.
Yeah, not having that early money can really hurt with Zora. Let's see. And it's nothing, it's just bombs. So that's good.
All right.
We may see Zero, depending on when we get the mirror. Maybe look to combo that in with a catfish check.
Yeah, that's what I tend to do. If I'm going to skip Zora early, then I just pray for that mirror at some point. Oh,
Yeah,
there's our Moon Pearl. Wow.
So that,
nice.
Dark World access right there.
So will Zero go ahead and go into Eastern? It looks like it, or he might...
Going to Eastern now would be... This is definitely an interesting play with just getting Dark World access.
Look what Andy's doing. He's doing that thing you were talking about.
I told you.
He's mad he didn't get it yesterday, so he's got to try it again.
Yeah, he does have access to Death Mountain with the gloves. Not logically, he doesn't have the lamp, and then if he continues along this path, he'll be getting to the east side with out of logic. So,
well, at this point, Zero Rush with that Moon Pearl in hand is going to take a slight lead item-wise. Of course, Andy could find something valuable here and escape that Zero Rush ends up skipping if he goes straight to Dark World, and vice versa if Andy gets the Pearl and doesn't go into Eastern. So, let's see what we find.
Yeah, I'm just really surprised Zero Rush is coming in here. You know, a lot of times you feel a little priced into Eastern when you check Sasha, but it's really not that far of a walk. It's only about 10 or 15 seconds to get back over there, especially with boots.
Yeah.
And he's got all of Dark World now. Well, the big chunk of it. Hype Cave, he can do Thieves Town. We have no idea if Thieves Town is a crystal. But if nothing else, even if it's a pendant and you clear it, it's still 4 items, and then you get a bit of knowledge clearing it anyways. It's not actually, it's 6 items. So, you know, in this mode, it'd be pretty hard pressed to not do it early, honestly.
I think maybe that's also why Zero Rush is considering this, just because of the MC Shuffle makes it so that he can at least get 4 items here. And then, I don't know, there's just the concept of treating this like a pendant dungeon right out the gate, and just like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and check it, and if it ends up being a pendant, I don't have to go kill Armos, that's fine, I never have to do it again. So I can see arguments for both.
Yes, sure.
So this is interesting. It looks like the big key is vanilla, which means it is locked by the lamp in Zelda's cell. So as a player, lamp, of course, is a very nice convenience. If you have Fire Rod first, you're less interested in the lamp, obviously, because most of the time these players are going to be fine doing dark rooms, as we saw earlier in Escape with Zero Rush. But with lamp being Andy's first fire source, this does kind of open up some possibilities, such as Desert is full clearable right now.
Yeah, and again, Desert a little bit more valuable, again, because of this map compass shuffle, so it's going to be 4 items total in there. Still, did Zero didn't even talk to Sasha?
He did. Skullwoods was our green pen.
Oh, he did? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted by the Pearl, that I didn't call that out.
Yeah, I wasn't on the tracker, and I didn't see it at the time.
Ooh, speaking of, Lamp just immediately leading to the Fire Rod. One of the common occurrences you see in Randomizer is just one of those, one thing leads to another. Kind of like Fire Rod leading to Bombos or vice versa in Ice Palace, or Boots leading to Hookshot and Mire or vice versa.
Yeah, so that Eastern play definitely paying off for Zero. It'll be interesting to see what Andy chooses to do when he goes over to that area.
Well, if a lot of these checks he makes, especially if he does like the Fairy Revival hover over here on East Death Mountain, which is looking like he's setting up to do that, you know, he finds nothing. It might be start feeling a little bit behind, but who knows? He could find a bow up there.
Yeah, I think the big risk with this sequence break, besides the fact that it's pretty easy to fail and it's just going to be a straight time loss, is depending on like where the mitts are, it's possible that Zero could just full clear Death Mountain in one trip when he finally gets up here. So this may be an extra climb for Andy overall, ignoring all the shenanigans he's doing on top of this. Yeah,
that's possible. That's true. We got 3 maps in Hype Cave. Of course, one was for Hyrule Castle. So, wow, we have a lot of info. We have a pendant dungeon at Mire and a Pyramid Fairy Crystal, or a pendant dungeon at Ice, Pyramid Fairy crystal at Mire, and then crystals at T-Rock, Pod, and Swamp. That's already a lot of information.
Yeah, so it seems like we have all of our with this Tower of Hera and Misery Mire. So we know all of the information about the crystal pendants already in the seed very early.
And yeah, Hera being our last Pyramid Fairy crystal. So, wow, it's really nice.
All right, so Andy got the first part of this trick. Let's see if he can. Nope. Oh. It's so sad. Look, I guess you want to do this with well, I guess it's always gonna be 7 hearts on the refill.
He's not gonna be happy about messing that up twice.
Yeah. So that's
was he too early on the bomb then?
No, the bomb was correct. I'm pretty sure you have to push the A button to start your hover on the very first frame to initiate the hover, and then after that, it's a standard hover. So I think that's what he messed up on it. I haven't really ever tried it. I can barely hover normally, much less doing that crazy stuff. So I'm not 100% familiar with that trick, but I think he set it up fine, and then he missed the initial input.
Was it like a one-time initial input they have to do, or is it like every time he?
Yeah. I think it's as the first frame that you can regain control of Link. You have to hit A on that frame, and then after that, it's the normal hovering rules with the 30 on, 1 off.
Gotcha. I've only ever seen it completed once, and it happened to be during a qualifier for Speed Gaming Live, and my buddy Ninban just pulled it off, and it was hilarious because it literally like just kind of not necessarily been discovered, but like brought up in the Rando Discord or just brought up in general, and I was like, okay, he just did it. All right, cool. So Andy does now get his Moon Pearl. It looks like he is going to go ahead and dive in. Especially, he's going to feel a little bit more obligated now, maybe just because of that lamp in hand, but he is going to find his Fire Rod. We did see a 300 rupee on the Desert Ledge, but of course there are still 4 items total in this dungeon, as well as a prize to find here in Desert. So let's see what else we can get up in Zero Rush's Desert Palace.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that Zero's actually never going to find that lamp. He was not going to need it to complete the seed, but Dark Worms certainly become faster when you can see where you're going. That's a general rule of thumb that seems to be true.
I feel like the times you probably lose the most are in Escape. Dark Maze can be kind of slow, depending on if like the Kodongos get in your way. But for the most part, like Mire's fine. Eastern's fine. T-Rock is fine for the most part, especially for these runners.
Yeah, I mean T-Rock doesn't slow you down at all. The other ones mostly, I mean,
just
if
hold
nothing
down
else,
right.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's not even like just getting through it. It's that you're going to hold your sword out, so you're going to be moving slower through there. But it's it's not a big difference. But like I said, these guys are really close to each other in skill and routing and everything. So just really tiny things can swing this.
Yeah, and as far as we know, we're not going to be visiting Aghanim's tower at all this seed because I'm pretty sure Lumberjack was dead. I think we saw that on Andy's side. I don't remember what it was, but it didn't wow me, so it must have been nothing. We already have the hammer, so it's not like we're going to have to, do Aga to find a hammer in Pyramid Fairy, though there are clearly ways to get around that as well. Jeez,
yeah, that's like one of the ones I've just never really learned, and I've only had to do it once.
There was a tourney race not too long ago, a couple days ago, that both runners did the big bomb dupe to get hammer from Pyramid Fairy. It was quite the sight to see, and I was like, man, I should probably learn that. You never know.
Yeah, it's so rare, and there's so many of the tricks in this game. It's like, you know what? It's fine. I'll lose. I lose races for plenty of other reasons before that one comes up. So.
Alright, so far, nothing really in this Desert Palace yet to be seen. We do have all of our dungeon info, right? Or are we still looking for one more pendant?
No, I think we did. Well, it was Hera and Pod were the 5/6?
Hera and Mire were the 5/6. Swamp Pod and T-Rock were 3 other crystals. So I guess we just don't know about Eastern and Desert.
Yeah, but they have to be crystals because we know the 3 pendants.
What's the third pendant?
Oh, I thought you said 3 pendants. I thought you said swamp.
I said 2.
Oh, see, I can't count.
It's okay, I forgive you.
This is why you're in charge.
All right, Zero Rush out of magic. I haven't used sword and hammer strats, which it looks like he's trying to do the whole like hold out your sword and like dash buffer the hammer to extend its hitbox.
Yeah, so that's actually something relatively recently that's been found. If you do a hammer dash while you're holding your sword out, the hitbox, the hitbox of the hammer already gets extended like up from holding your sword out. But if you do a item dash, it like gets wider too, so you can get some pretty cheeky hits in. You've mostly seen it on like Helma, but with Zero Rush's item set, it makes sense to go for it here.
And speaking of pendants, we now know where our 3 pendants are. Desert.
Yeah, well, okay, there we go.
So now we have all of our dungeon information we're going to need. We already know what our 7 crystal options we have.
And they are options today.
We are definitely skipping T-Rock. It's going to happen. It's like it happens so often in 6.6.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you know,
it's going to happen.
Probably. Well, T-Rock or Swamp Palace if that hookshot's late, because these guys will hover Roldorn. No problem.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. I mean, I don't know why I'm talking about that right now. Look at our tracker. We got nothing really.
Yeah, we got a bit to go first, but the only thing we can't really skip is Bow because that locks 2 dungeons. Fire Rod we already have, which locks multiple dungeons. Everything else really only locks 1 dungeon. So, like, Flippers is skippable, Flute's skippable, Mirror skippable, Hookshot's skippable. So it's really just going to come down to, what items we end up finding first, which dungeons we're going to end up doing. Bow and Cane are the 2 we absolutely have to have, and Mitts, obviously.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, curious to see what our next item is going to be and where these players go. They have the option of doing Green Pendant Skull Woods now with that Fire Rod and Sword in hand. They could go do Crystal Thieves Town, which I could probably see that happening next before Skull, because generally you want to do Crystal Dungeons. And Thieves Town is a pretty linear dungeon, even in Go mode.
Yeah, in this mode, I could see Skull Woods being done here again because there's some extra items in there. It's not too long of a dungeon, and it is a green pendant. So like Skull Woods has 5 items effectively with that green pendant in it. So decently high value, and it does make the routing I think a little bit nicer. You can just do Skull Woods and down into Thieves Town. But Annie will be coming straight to Village of Outcasts, probably clearing this out and then heading to the dungeon.
Watching Zero struggle to find the way to get to the portal.
I have no idea how to go through this.
It's a little, you like rarely go this direction to get to the portal.
I know one way through this place, and I get horribly lost.
I'm surprised he didn't just go ahead and check pedestal while he was right there.
Yeah, actually, I thought he was coming here to check pedestal, comma the end with the lumberjack check, but.
Oh well, there's the magic powder early in Thieves Town, so that does open up one more item at the magic bat. So if we find a mirror in here as well, then we could see them checking that sooner than later. I would say that I would probably see them dipping Skull. Well, Zero Rush is going straight for Skull Woods. I was saying I'd see this before going for like the pod play or something like that.
Yeah, I mean Zero Rush did this exact same thing yesterday. Well, I guess not exact same. It was a crystal, but he didn't have the fire rod. So it makes sense. I mean, he already did the Eastern play, so I think he's just maybe thinking in this seed he's just going to hardline dungeons because they're pretty valuable in this.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of valuable dungeons, we found the Master Sword in Skull Woods, which is a nice little upgrade, but as well as the Titan Mitts here in Thieves Town on Andy's side. So suddenly we have quite a bit of the world open to us now, except for Death Mountain and, of course, my area. But that will, allow us to, Smith Chain, Mirrorless Smith Chain, stuff like that. But
yeah, conversely, Andy put off Skull Woods for a really long time yesterday, so it's possible if there's nothing else in Skull Woods that's required for the seed that Zero may have a sword advantage for the rest of this.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, there are still, 2 more swords somewhere out in the wild, and we're going to need Well, Andy's gonna need to find at least one of them. Yeah, with those mitts in hand, I mean, we already did digging game, right? They already went hype cave to digging game, I'm assuming.
I don't think Oh, okay. Our tracker's saying yes.
Yeah, I remember it was like 4 digs. Yeah, I saw it on Zero Rush's side. It was 4 digs and a heart piece. So I could see, maybe a quick smith chain. Maybe. I don't know. That's a tough call to make when you don't have the mirror.
Yeah, without mirror and without flute, it's pretty rough. You have to grab that smith, and then you have to walk all the way back here to Kakariko without the flute to speed that up. They could combo in with that powder. I could see maybe comboing in handing the smith in with the magic bat, so you get kind of a 2-for-1. It makes it a little bit more attractive that way.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe if we find the flute in here as well, that would kind of sweeten the deal. So Zero Rush not finishing Skull Woods. It's so hard to keep track. I don't know if he got all the items in there, and just putting off Mothula.
Yeah, but can we tell these guys to slow down a bit?
Yeah, come on.
Actually, going in different directions and they're going fast.
They're fine.
Impossible.
All right, what do we got in the big chest of thieves? It is a big 20. Wow. Well, the nice thing is after this, Andy is going to be taking the first crystal of the match. Zero Rush leading the way for pendant dungeons, yeah, he didn't. I don't think he found anything in desert, so that play didn't really give him anything, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's a small advantage to Andy if Andy can resist the temptation to ever go into desert. But if he does go into desert, then it just kind of evens out. So it really depends on how the seed's going to play out.
Honestly, though, I'd just be happy as a runner at this point to have both mitts and hammer and the boots. I'd be feeling pretty good. Because there's nothing worse than like those late hammer seeds. Those, gross.
Yeah, I mean, it helps with having, all the high valuable items early. Helps out just because it's what you're kind of more used to and you're more standard routing. The downside is that a lot of the world is open up, so there's just going to be a lot of kind of coin flips for where the items are going to be. So that could be a really big determining factor.
Yeah, that is very true.
Didn't even mention the blind fight scripted. Same thing every time.
I mean,
we've all seen it.
The thing is, with these caliber runners, we're more likely to call out mistakes than anything else because we already expect them to be playing, extremely well.
I honestly didn't even look at Andy's screen that entire. It was like, yeah. Blind fight, cool.
Not concerned.
Zero Rush having a nice little prison there using the dash strat. It's a pretty tricky strat to get down. You can't actually key dash those doors for some reason, so you have to cancel your dash, and you want to do it right in the little gap there, so you don't lose a bunch of time from wiggling around.
Yeah, or bonking.
Oh yeah, bonking.
And then running into the enemies, and it just adds up. There's a blue boomerang, and you're gonna go ahead and take that. I agree. That's the best one.
Yeah. The red boomerang is useful now, though. It's
with the splash deletion.
I have to pick that thing up.
Blue is just so good for GT, though.
Yeah, mainly when I don't have blue boomerang in Ganon's Tower, I'm just I don't know what to do.
Exactly. It's I gotta use Samaria. Ugh. Oh no, is this fight gonna go wild? Zero Rush gonna do it? Oh no, alright.
It's not me playing, so I think we're alright.
Nice, Andy routing in King's Tomb real quick. Also a little map check, just so he can confirm the rest of his dungeons, since he didn't complete Desert, so he doesn't know that it's a pendant. Just a heart piece.
Andy did end up grabbing that dwarf, so I bet he's going to do what I mentioned earlier, just combo this in with fake powder. Or not fake, actual powder. Doing it without a glitch.
It's like that or fake flippers. It's my favorite. You go for the fake flipper.
Fake real
flippers are great.
Fake real powder is great too. I love that. I've taken a beating in Mire before, and I was like, I have powder, but I don't have magic.
You know, if you get the opportunity to show off fake real powder, like up the gauntlet right before Moldrum 2, it's like you just gotta go for it. So, question is, Zero Rush gonna do the same thing here? I would assume so.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna follow exactly in Andy's path. Just gonna. I imagine he'll probably put King's Tomb in this little loop as well. It makes a lot of sense.
Now the question is Andy gonna do purple chest? Because Zero Rush did, and well, Zero Rush does do it because Zero Rush skipped Hammer Pigs, I believe, because he did not get that blue boomerang, which means he's either feeling comfortable skipping 2 checks or he's using that as a reason to go back and do purple chest.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if he did Hammer Pigs or not.
I mean, we got to think for a second. Like, whoa, what do we have right now? What can we do right now? Do we have left to check aside from diving pod, which nobody wants to do?
Yeah, diving pod. There's still the back of Skull Woods. Zero probably won't go there right now. Andy might, because he hasn't done any of Skull Woods.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we got? Not a lot.
Where's Andy going?
I guess Catfish, Pyramid, like some of those like kind of gross checks. Andy, I think, is checking the pad. Yeah.
All right. I would assume that. I guess this is just a faster way of doing it than running all the way to the left in Kakariko and then going north.
Yeah.
I guess it's like very very
I know
minimal.
one way through here, so. Andy's one of those guys. I'll trust his routing through some of these random only situations.
I'm generally not going to question these two. Like, they know what they're doing for the most part, except when Zero Rush was trying to find his way through Lost Woods, which was pretty funny to get to the portal. But yeah, just couch cash on the pedestal, so the pedestal is dead. So that Desert Palace clear from Zero Rush. Unfortunately, not going to really amount to anything for him.
Zero's still in a pretty good position overall here. There's not really much Andy has checked that Zero hasn't, and Zero's just like a little bit behind him in like kind of these like series of checks. So if Andy may still be tempted to go to Desert Palace, and that might even it up and put Zero on a little bit of a lead here. Yo, the Light World Fence Dash, let's go.
So yeah, Zero Rush skipping Hammer Pigs. Looks like he is gonna potentially go back, do Hammer Pegs, and grab that purple chest. And if that holds like the mirror, I mean, that would get us a lot of access up on Death Mountain.
Mirror,
kind of seeing that might be our next big progression at this point.
Yeah, or Hookshot. Hookshot effectively gets us the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking Zero put off the purple chest and Hammer Pegs just to get that Light World Fence Dash. Probably weighing heavily on his mind.
I'm sure. So this is interesting. Andy going for a different route in Skullwoods, going straight to the back. He's really banking on that green pendant being useful. Unfortunately for him, he's going to miss that Master Sword, so he's not going to have... He has Fire Rod and Hammer, so he should be just fine.
I'm just assuming he's going to do back to front. If you're going to clear Skullwoods, you might as well start in the back. So if he's already made, like, I'm going to, no matter what I find, I'm going to clear Skullwoods, this makes a lot of sense to do it this way.
Yeah, if it wasn't green pendant, I could see him doing the reverse play.
Yeah, if it was just a regular pendant, I think the other way would make more sense.
Oh no, Andy died. Oh, what a bad gamer. Sorry, that was not very sincere. I'm sorry, Andy, you are a good gamer.
I know show it off in this room, probably. Oh, no, he's going to fire rod the bottom. Never mind.
Oh, is he going to do a Fire Rod dash or something?
No, he was going for the optimal strat there.
Ooh. Hold on,
the...
sorry. I don't mean to interrupt,
yeah.
but we just got a very crucial item here off of the purple chest. That's a huge find for Zero Rush. That allows him to complete 2 crystal dungeons and is going to completely direct his his next route. So it's a nice find on his side.
Yeah, not only 2 crystal dungeons, but 7 items in pod with this MCS mode. So he's going to be going pretty much straight there.
And you're probably right. He's probably never going to do the front of escape. So he's never going to get that lamp. Of course, fortunately for him, you know, he knows dark rooms and just probably going to utilize that fire rod in the turtle room in the back of pod.
Yeah, with the fire rod, the turtle room, not in logic, because there are other dark rooms in that chain, but it makes that room pretty a lot easier with the fire rod. Doing it completely blind is a nightmare. And Andy having a time on Fighter Sword Moth.
Yeah, you got to be careful because like you want to go for the hammer hits because they do tempered sword damage, but when your health is this low and you're on green mail and everything hurts so much that you got to be extra careful, and you'd rather, you know, be slow and successful than die a tragic death. Just a heart container off of Moth. We do get that green pendant, and then eventually Andy is going to get his Master Sword going down this way. Now the question is, I wonder if he's gonna do purple chest. I'm just curious.
Yeah, purple chest may not be required. Feels likely at this point just how the seed's playing out, but we do have, in V31, we do have progressive bows, so there are 2 bows to be found. But that second bow could be behind the first bow in the seed, meaning that one is hard required for this, which I think is probably pretty likely at this point, although, I mean, the other bow could be on green pendant, you know, something weird like that.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, that was what we were hoping for in the last seed, because, spoilers, their last race kind of came down to hunt for the bow. All right, Palace of Darkness. Plenty of things to find in here. Plenty of items. It's a bit of a long dungeon.
Yeah, this is a dungeon you like to do early just because there's 5 items in this normally, but with the 2 bonus items, this is... like, you're not putting this off.
Andy, finding the bow in Skullwoods.
Oh.
All right. That's incredible.
That's amazing, yeah.
Wow. So Zero Rush skipped the vanilla big key chest, which had the big key.
This the way this is playing out, I don't see either one of these guys getting silvers at this point.
I know, right?
They're not gonna like Zero kind of as abandoned Skullwoods, and you know purple chest just sucks. So you know unless the seed really tightens up later where they're like scrambling, like they're not gonna find each other's bow.
This is literally what we wanted last seed, but we're actually getting it, and it's great. It's kind of the fun part about progressive bows is you get these kind of scenarios, which is pretty exciting. So whatever Zero Rush is going to find in Pod and Eastern, and he's going to find not too far out. And at the same time, with that lamp in hand, he's going to save maybe a little bit of time in these dark rooms. Depends on how well Zero Rush can handle these. Which I'm sure he can. Wow, we are proven wrong immediately. Andy is going to go ahead. I mean, honestly, if there's any time to do purple chest, it's literally right now. Because he's never going to have a need to go back to Village of Outcast, except for like Graveyard Ledge or Cave 45 or something like that. So this is going to be pretty beneficial for him. So I guess now for Zero Rush, we kind of need something required maybe on Green Pendant to send him back to Skullwoods.
Yeah, either something required on Green Pendant or, like I said before, just the seed drying up and then kind of just getting confused and worried about that early skip he made. Well, yeah, there's the silvers.
Yep.
And I'm not good at predicting stuff, am I?
I mean, you never know with these players. You know, I never expected Zero Rush to route through Lost Woods to go to the portal like he did. So, you know, anything can happen. Nothing much showing up in Pod yet. Of course, the front half of Pod is always pretty consistent. It's either you're going to get 2 items in the front or you're going to get 1 item in the front. And we got $50 and a big key. So that was the 2 items.
Zero Rush throwing down the ye old rando hammer jump. It's a double pixel perfect trick. Just a bunch of cues that everyone uses. Double pixel perfect on the Y coordinate, on the X coordinate. There's a lot of leeway. Doesn't save as much time in rando as it would in just like a vanilla speedrun of this, but it can make the routing a little bit easier. And there's the hook shot.
All right. Well, that is our immediate progression.
Yeah, and that's what we were thinking. Either mirror or hookshot to send them up Death Mountain.
Heck, we might get both. We did see over on Andy's side, green pennant only leading to a heart piece. So now it is looking a little bit like Zero Rush might not be getting those silvers ever, but we'll see.
This point does... No. I was thinking just Kane would put them in go mode, but they would need like something else to finish one other dungeon.
Yeah, they would still need a medallion at least.
Yeah, because you can't get to Mire without the flute, and then Turtle Rock wouldn't be completable. Oh, and the medallions. Duh.
We need some stuff still.
Yeah, we're still a little bit away. We will need at least one medallion to open up at least one of those two dungeons, and neither one has been scouted so far. We'll probably be seeing Turtle Rock sooner than later, though.
So I'm not exactly sure what that pause was from Zero Rush. He might have been loading up a dark room map? I don't know. I mean, did he get a fairy drop from one of the Kadongos? Nice.
He did.
That was very convenient for him.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble. Yeah, this is what you were saying before. Sometimes this dark maze just, sometimes it's just kind of annoying. These Kadongos are just in horrible spots sometimes. But yeah, I mean, you also don't want to kill too many of them because you really want to use them to death warp right after too. So
yeah, exactly.
You're coming through here and you're like, let's get him out of my way, and they go, oh, I wanted some of those. And of course, he's getting full hearts to make it.
Yeah, he got 2 heart containers in here. I mean, that's why he really wanted to go for that hammer jump, because I have oh well, there's our first medallion, the Bombos medallion. I personally have a lot easier time routing through Dark Maze if I go from the big chest to the front.
Really?
Then
You're
the
the only
reverse.
person I've heard say that you're better at the reverse one.
Yeah, that's just the only way I've really learned it, which doesn't really help if the Biggie ends up being in the Dark Maze, but...
yeah, I'm the exact opposite. I will only hammer jump if I have the lamp, because I knew reverse at one point, and at this point I just don't feel like relearning it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just how I learned it, and I just never really learned the alternative. Of course, in some situations you're kind of forced to do it, especially in like Randomizer, if there's like a big yellow spike on the bridge, and you're like, well, can't do that.
My favorite one in Randomizer when there's a little spike going across.
Oh god,
those are the best.
It's like the one in Skullwoods, like in the boss bridge, just going left and right. You gotta like bomb jump to get past it, or like my favorite is like when there's like a Beamos in Spiral Cave. And you're like, I can't get past you. What are you doing? But yeah. Anyway, hook shot, nice. We can get up to Death Mountain, get across, go to East Death Mountain and Dark Death Mountain. Can get to Hera, do that dungeon. Hookshot will also allow us to do some cool tricks in Hera as well.
I was all ready to hype up this mimics, pod mimics from Zero, but flubbed it a little bit. Happens.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would feel a little flustered after like a messy dark maze, just in general. But
yeah, I mean, it's just a really hard room to do quickly. So you know, every once in a while, even these top guys will mess it up.
Yeah, here's the question for Zero Rush. If he doesn't find the mirror off of Helma, is he going to go right back and do Eastern Palace right away? Andy had a good reason to do Eastern first, because he was going to go ahead and turn in Green Pendant anyway.
Oh, okay. I was a little curious why he did that. Yeah, without the flute or like the mirror to kind of combo those in together, it almost doesn't matter which way you do it. A lot of times, if I'm in that situation, I just go like, I'll just do pod and hope mirror's there, and then maybe I can just mirror straight to Eastern.
Okay, I am very confused about Zero Rush's turtle room. I'm surprised he didn't just go for lighting the torch like right at the beginning. It's like you dash down, you just immediately move to the left and just fire rod south, and you hit the torch every time.
Oh, you dash down? I hold like the sword out and I move left until I see Link hit the corner, and I do it right there, and that hits the torch.
But he gets through. Just a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
sometimes those turtles, like you have a strat, and sometimes those turtles just go in a way you didn't expect. And
it's great if you can like actually just do the NMG strat, even if you.
Oh, yeah, the straight one.
Yeah, just get it in the dark. And you're like, oh, you hear the door chime. You're like, oh, I got that. All right, sweet.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Unfortunately, there is RNG in those turtles. Specifically, the bottom left one can just kind of go off. And Zero, please be careful.
Oh, right. Nice.
Zero showing off his
Still went for the hammer
Skills
as
there.
well. Yeah, it just feels like a normal NMG. Oh, a tempered sword off the Helma. So that's good. So even if Zero Rush doesn't get the silvers, he does at least have a tempered sword. So he's not going to lose a tremendous amount of time.
It's about
in the Ganon
like
fight.
40-ish seconds on the phase 2 of Ganon.
Yeah.
So it is a chunk of time, no matter how good you are at this game. So if he never finds those silvers, Zero will need somewhat of a significant lead in GT to pull it off. But a lot of game before we have to worry about that, you know.
Yeah, and especially with it being 6-6, you know, anything can happen still. We don't even know what our last crystal dungeon is going to be.
We don't even know. That's why, you know, the reason I was calling Go mode so early is because you have to do a little bit more math on this one to figure out when you're actually in Go mode. Like, can we do 6? Like,
so, like, they could sequence break Ice Palace. That's a crystal right there.
yeah, but if you do that, that means you're not doing Swamp, right? 'Cause you're skipping the flippers. So that means you need the Ice Rod, and then we know we need the Cane anyways, because Cane locks 2. But you can sequence break Ice Palace. I mean, Ice Palace, Turtle Rock, and Swamp are probably the 3 most likely ones to not Ice Palace. The Ice Palace is a pendant anyways. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I'm dumb.
Yeah, Swamp Palace can be skipped. We're missing the mirror, so mirror is skippable. Mizermire we can skip with the flute, and Turtle Rock we can skip with the Ice Rod or the medallion. Those are really the 3 skippable things. Oh, and flippers for Swamp Palace as well. Flippers or mirror.
So I'm feeling maybe Death Mountain's going to be holding on to probably, unfortunately, probably the flippers, maybe the mirror, one of those two. If I
Flippers doesn't really. We've already done the Light World Flippers checks, and we know that's nothing important. So Flippers really wouldn't give us much right now. Besides, what 5? Yeah, it'd be 5 items in Ice Palace. Flute. I think Flute would give us the most at once right now. From the shed, checkerboard, and 4 in Misery Mire.
Well,
assuming
assuming we get the mirror, yeah. And assuming we get the mirror for checkerboard.
Oh, right, for checkerboard, correct. So.
Well, yeah, and after this, I mean, depending on what we find up in Death Mountain, you know, Andy still has Desert on his mind, probably. Zero Rush still has the rest of Skull Woods. I don't know if either of them would even be thinking about Ice Palace. I mean, you wouldn't sequence break a pendant Ice Palace ever. That's just plain silly.
Yeah, I can't even think of a reason why it would make more sense in this 6-6 mode to sequence break Ice Palace. That's more of a play you make if you think like your opponent's, you know, got like a real big advantage on you and you need to make a gamble like that. But you know, like I said, these guys are pretty much straight up even, so they're gonna play this very straightforward.
And yeah, you never know with 6-6. I mean, the flippers could be just chilling in Ganon's tower, since, you know, we would only need it for Swamp, and Swamp might be the dungeon we get to skip. I could see that just because Cane is required for both those dungeons, so I feel like we're more likely to do Mire and T-Rock, but...
Yeah, Swamps does seem like it could. It's pretty skippable because there's 2 items we're missing that we still need to even be able to do it.
All right, so Zero Rush heading up to Death Mountain. First one heading up there. Andy going to be following pretty closely behind. Once he kills Helmassar, gets his 3rd crystal, and grabs his tempered sword.
Yeah, Andy might actually... He's going to be really close, because he can save and quit up there, because he already rescued the old man on his failed hover attempt. So this is really close. They're going to pretty much be popping out the old man cave, I think, almost right on top of each other.
Sweet. I don't remember. Did Andy actually check inside Spectacle Cave, or did he just go straight east to set up the...
I think he did go up there.
Okay. So Zero Rush is probably going to spend some time going up there then.
If anything, I think he might... Well, he doesn't have the mirror, so it makes the comboing and dark stuff a little bit harder. But I was thinking he may do the whole loop, and then he could hop down to check that. But without the mirror, the problem is going to Dark Death Mountain is a one-way trip. So
yeah,
it does make some of these checks kind of awkward to do. Like, you either have to make this long climb just for this one item, or you have to like abandon either like this or Spiral Cave.
Yeah, and that's always tough. It's like, all right, do I check this or do I go back to do Spiral Cave, and then Spiral Cave has the mirror, and then you don't ever get it.
Yeah, Spectacle Rock is one of those locations I've skipped, and and after a race, I'm like, where was like Fire Run? Everyone's like, how did you miss Spectacle Rock? I'm like, it's out of the way. Like, I didn't want to go up there.
I mean, it's at least you're not skipping like Blindside or something. I mean, who would do that ever? Especially like in a tournament of this caliber. I mean, come on.
Especially someone who's like, everyone says is a top runner of this game. Like
top runner. I mean, he's no Christo Soam, but you know. Now that's a tough.
Couldn't even get the sentence out.
it's so hard, man. Half magic. That's a nice find. There's Canis Demaria, so that's useless. There's Ether, so that's another medallion. So that's. I'm really starting to think about that T-Rock Meyer. Nice hover from Andy. See, guys, if we only call it out when they mess up, obviously. Everything else is just pretty standard. And they're tied. Wow, the synchronization. 53 minutes in. These guys are perfectly synced. The only big difference is a full clear desert versus a full clear Skull Woods. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but Zero did do some of Skullwood, so
yeah.
Like kind of effectively Zero does have a little lead here, just because, you know, I mean, if Andy never does desert, then yeah, this is completely tied up. But
and
depending,
Andy did do. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Andy did do the front of Escape where he got that lamp. So that's.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So those not entirely even. I mean, desert is pretty quick. I think the front of Escape is probably a little quicker. So they both have a location the other hasn't done that is going to be weighing on their minds for the rest of this seed.
Ooh.
Oh, Zero! No.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
it's so good that you can just kind of leave the screen a little bit and they despawn, save you a little bit of time coming back. But
that Dead Rock is affectionately known in the community as Katy Perry. So Katy Perry strikes again.
Sweet dude. I feel like I know that for reasons. But I'm not sure.
It's an old Zelda clip. Long story short, basically. Zelda saying I kissed the squirrel and I liked it, and for some reason, yeah.
All right.
That one's Katy Perry now.
Now we know. All right, so neither player going for the coffee break strat, because of course no mirror. You want to be able to get back to the beginning of this dungeon as quickly as possible. So taking a bunch of tiles to the face to set up that death warp. Don't want to take too much, because of course you still gotta get past the mini Moldorans and whatnot. And I've plenty of times we've seen runners, myself included, dying right before actually getting this big key. So you gotta be a little bit careful here.
Andy losing out on about 20 frames there, but not going to the fire rod and killing that tile while it was in the air. That might be the match right there, honestly.
That's it. That's Woody. Now the question is, are they going to immediately go for the Harapot right away? Because we can actually talk about it. We have the hookshot, we have the boots. You can go for a really quick one, and it'll save you a little bit of time going up.
Oh, right, true. Yeah, so Harapot does actually, you may be thinking, well, why would you Harapot? You already got the big key. If you can do Harapot quickly, it is still faster than to go through all these rooms. It's a little tricky, though, and it's it's new, so people really haven't gotten it really down that much. So, and these guys, again, these rooms are just complete rope memorization at this point. They're going to fly through these, so,
Yeah. I feel like it makes more sense if you get the big key in the chest and then you just immediately go for it. At this point, it makes more sense. You're already at the beginning of the dungeon. Just go right upstairs.
Yeah, it turns out Harapot, as far as like, oh, do I want a Harapot or not? It's the exact same weight as skipping basement when basement had an item, because you still end up skipping one location. Although I guess it's even a little better than that, because potentially you could just find both items upstairs and you don't even have to worry about the big chest. So it's the same like risk as skipping basement, which we see runners do all the time. So it's not really that crazy.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this seed is there was 10 arrows in the big chest, so they could have just done the Harapot to go straight upstairs and just skip basement entirely. So they're of course going to be thinking about, well, I wonder if my opponent did do the Harapot and save some time here.
Yeah. I mean, the seed's drying up a little bit at this point. There's really not a lot of there's the map of Hera on
The
Moldor.
classic.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's good. Hey, I got a crystal.
So for people that don't know what a Herapod is, you should look it up. It's funny. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, basically you can clip into the pot and fall into a pot, and then turn it away. You go upstairs real easy. But I was saying, like, the seed's drying up a little bit, so it makes sense that they're really not risking anything. Maybe if they had the mirror, it would have been a little bit more attractive, because then you could do all of Dark Death Mountain, and then if that still comes up, then go back into Hera. But without the mirror, this is going to be a one-way trip into the Dark World. So...
All right. We got some more divergence. zerorush checking Spiral Cave, and then Andy going straight for the Dark World portal here on top of T-Rock. And then the question we have to ask is, after this is... Well, we do have the right medallion for T-Rock. We do have Fire Rod and Samaria. You know, we don't have Ice Rod. Can't complete the dungeon unless we find it in here. But
Yeah,
we could still find, you know, flute, flippers, something else.
yeah, the old Ice Rod is in Turtle Rock play. Everyone's favorite.
And now,
But I mean, you know, this... I mean, it definitely makes sense Andy's going to check these other items before going into Turtle Rock. But he may decide to go into Turtle Rock here, either looking for the Ice Rod, or this may be a double dip Turtle Rock required seed.
I mean, the thing is, for us, there's really not much left that these runners can do unless they find the flippers or something.
Yeah,
so T-Rock is kind of looking like a good play on our side. For them, though, they've all skipped stuff, so I'm sure they're thinking, like, oh,
like
front of escape, oh, desert.
Yeah, it's just those two items. But then, yeah, you know, those aren't the most attractive locations, and you'd have to make this climb all the way back up. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if either or both go into Turtle Rock right here.
All right, Super Bunny Cave holding what? A heart container. A baby heart container. All right. That's, so the only thing for Andy is going to be going into T-Rock thinking, ah, crud, I left the Ice Rod and Spiral Cave. Which,
Yeah.
fortunately for him, he didn't, but you know he's thinking about it. We'd all be thinking about it if we were in his shoes right now. So, yeah, I like this play. The other thing is that Burna more or less kind of puts Spike Cave into contention. We can consider that a location as well at this point.
Yeah, just doing that right after this Turtle Rock play makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really do it the other way. Burna, you know, pretty much no one ever comes out of Burna, and then you'd have to hop down and come all the way back around here. Well, you couldn't even do that. You don't have a mirror. You'd be stuck over there. So you pretty much have to do Spike Cave afterwards in this situation.
All right, well, at this point, Andy is taking a very slight lead going into T-Rock, where we are very likely going to find some form of progression. I mean, if it's the flippers, that could send us Independent Ice Palace. If it's the mirror, that opens up a couple awful overworld checks, which nobody wants to do. Flute would potentially open up all of the Mire area. Well, I mean, it would open up all the Mire area and potentially open up Mire if we have the correct medallion for it. There it is.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do you keep going? And it looks like he is.
Yeah, if he wasn't, he'd just be damage boosting on these guys to get out of here. So we'll see if Zero makes the same decision. These guys had pretty much, I think it was in the back half yesterday, where they both had to come into Turtle Rock, and it was like Bo or something in Mimic that they had to come all the way through it. They didn't have Fire Rod at that point, and both of them just went all the way there. I think there was something early too as well. So with these guys, you know, them being so good, they're really not looking to make too many gambles here. They're just going to play it straight and just try to beat each other the old-fashioned way by just being faster.
See, and I love that. That just sounds like the perfect race to watch. You don't need any big, crazy gambles. Just play good. I mean, come on. What's so hard? That's my word of advice for everybody that's playing random. Just play good. I mean, come on.
Cries in 0-4 in the tournament. But I have a 125. I don't get it.
What am I doing wrong? So, obviously, we're looking for Ice Rod in here. That would be the perfect scenario. If we find the mirror, that would open up, the overworld checks or whatnot. That could also potentially set up a saving your portal at the end of Laser Bridge to maybe go find Ice Rod somewhere else and then come back. But yeah, I don't know. We could even just find Quake in the back of here, and that's actually what we need to get into Misery Mire.
Yeah, it very well could just be Flute. Flute does open up those checks we were talking about earlier. Because we did get some progression in here, it almost feels a little less likely that we will find Ice Rod. But it's randomizer. Since that Ice Rod locks nothing, it really can just be anywhere. So it's really a hard item to read, which is why it's nice. It may be skippable to seed.
I wonder what's going on in these runners' minds. They're expecting their opponent to do... Because most of the time you don't expect your opponent to do literally the exact same thing you did.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they watched...
Because you usually... I mean, at least for me, I'm always like, I know my opponent played perfectly, so I'm already losing.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if they ended up watching those matches back at all yesterday. I mean, these guys know each other very well. But like even yesterday, they were... The first seed was really linear. There wasn't really a lot of chances to diverge. The second one opened up a lot, and they still were like just on each other's heels the entire time. So it's not surprising. Again, like unless there's one item in a really weird location, like last time where it was that Mire and Ice Palace divergence.
Oh well.
Who's going to be faster?
Found another piece of the puzzle. We did get our flippers, so at this point, if we find a mirror and we have the medallion for Mire, we can skip T-Rock, and then that's it.
Yeah, so maybe this Ice Rod is just not going to be necessary. Maybe it might be in, Gan's Tower.
Yeah, very possible. So basically, T-Rock was just a very big pendant dungeon. Very big one. But we'll see. We're going to go activate this flute on Andy's side, head straight to Mire, and find out what's going on over there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Zero pretty much failing the only thing you can fail in this dark room, which is just not getting that Samaria onto the platform right away. So he fell.
that is a problem. That is definitely the hardest part of that room.
Yeah, once you're on the platform, unless you hold the wrong button, which definitely happens, it's one of the easiest dark rooms. If you're just learning this game, I definitely look into learning that as one of your first dark rooms.
That one, Eastern, is probably a good one to do.
Old Man, just because of how bad that break can be, and it's really Old Man is really easy. Old Man is the biggest break for a dark room, and is really easy. So that's definitely one you should learn, at least with a sword. There's people can do it without like any guides whatsoever. That's a little bit more of an advanced technique, but
it's usually learn Ice Palace bomb jump and then free yourself from the clutches of the lamp. Those are your two main things you need to do when you want to start learning rando for like racing and stuff, or just in general. I didn't see what that was, Andrew. Could you check again for me? So yeah, both runners bailing out of Spike Cave, or not checking Spike Cave. It's understandable because they really didn't have an easy way to get back to it. Because if they death warped, it was going to take them back to the big chest.
Yeah, once you leave, once you go to come out. And they couldn't do Mimic
Mire?
Mimic Cave.
Mimic? Oh.
No, Mimic Cave. And I was saying, once you come out of there, unfortunately, you can't death warp back to the beginning of the dungeon, and there's really no good way to get back there.
All right, so Andy leaving is probably a good sign that it is Quake for Misery Mire, so our quest continues. And it looks like Andy is going to make the play into Desert Palace, so this is going to give Zero Rush a little bit of time to catch up, depending on where he goes next. At this point, what do we have left? Spike Cave and Ice Palace?
Ice Palace,
Catfish?
Yeah. I would not be
Catfish?
surprised if Zero takes these into Ice Palace. The flute ended up being a big blank for him. And he already did Desert. He may be thinking like, well, I put off Escape for so long, I might as well just not do it at this point. Which is what I said about Blind. Or he forgot about Escape, because I kept... Oh, no, he's going to Escape this time. Okay.
Okay, he is going to get his lamp. So both players kind of doing what the other person already did, which is, for us as a viewer, good, because that means they're going to end up being close still throughout the... Because we want close races, because they're very fun to watch. I wonder if after this, if Zero Rush is going to end up going back to Skull Woods or not. You kind of... It's one of those things where you pick one thing. Well, I mean, I guess he has like 3 things he could do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with Skull Woods, you may be a little worried that it may just be too late at that point, and you're only looking for 2 items. The Ice Palace play kind of is a feels bad, but I don't know. I feel like you're kind of forced into that play.
Or always a feels bad.
Yeah, especially the full clear. Like, ugh.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I've made calculated risks and skipped some of these locations that I've checked half of. So for Zero Rush, he checked half of Escape, he checked half of Skull Woods. He picks one over the other, and then that means that the other location is basically dead to him forever. So I could kind of see him going straight for Ice after this. But he might, I don't know. Catfish is the other big problem. Have we seen the Pyramid yet?
I don't think we've seen Pyramid or Catfish, honestly.
I know we haven't seen Catfish. But yeah, I can't imagine when we would have seen Pyramid if we have, so... You could route that in, because Pyramid Fairy is never happening.
Yeah, they may have been thinking early on, put that off till maybe Pyramid Fairy. By this point, there's no way Pyramid Fairy is going to happen. By the time we get Pyramid Fairy access, it's going to be you're going to be in go mode. So
I mean, unless we. Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
technically possible, right? Yeah, if they find Quake next, it is technically possible, and then either the Mirror or the Ice Rod could be in there.
That is true, yeah. If they find Quake, they can do Mire, and then that could lead to the other dungeon. So sorry, for some reason I thought Mire and T-Rock were both Pyramid Fairy. In case I'm like, yeah, that's dead.
It's the other mountain one.
All right, the Ice Palace play from Zero Rush. There are 5 items in here with the map and compass shuffle. It's a bit of a long dungeon, but you never know. The item we're looking for could just show up in the very first chest, and you're like, wow, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, this is the downside of MCS. It makes dungeons more valuable, and you're like, well, that's great because I like doing dungeons, and we have to do dungeons to complete the game. Fortunately, it also makes the pendant dungeons more valuable. So
it's the downside of it.
Yeah, it tends to be pretty hard to skip pendants in this. So doing this is probably even a little less of a feels bad than it normally would be. Although maybe 6/6 offsets how bad it feels to do this. I don't know.
No, just the big key in the front, which in this scenario, you'd rather just see a small key right away, because then you can just route the right side really quickly. With big key, it's like, oh, do I drop down and check that after doing Freezors, or do I... Because there's quite a few ways you can route this dungeon. You always do the Ice Palace bomb jump, pretty much. I mean, if you don't, it's like, okay, I have an easier time getting Ice Tea Room, but then if there's something on Cold Stair... This dungeon sucks.
Yeah, I don't even know if it being a pendant really changes the weight of maybe not doing Ice Palace bomb jump. But yeah,
I don't know. Maybe if you were 1 item away from go mode, you'd consider it. But
this is also one of those dungeons that, like, most of these rooms, like, none of them are ever done in any speed run of the game. So like, you just come into these rooms and like you have like these frame perfect strats for everything else, and you get to those other rooms, you're like, I don't know what to do.
What do I do? Do I hook shot? Do I just walk through the spikes?
It's not on Strat Hub. I'm confused.
I really like that the hammer setup. There, Zero Rush's Ice Palace bomb jump, very crisp. I like that one. It's nice.
Yeah, and he will be doing a slightly different setup, I think. And a shout out to Zero again, going to this Ice Palace clip.
I can never. I need to get in on that one, because that one's just fun to watch.
Yeah. So my suggestion for that one, the actual optimal strat, and there's like you do the hammers and then you do a down slash. If you don't know the down slash yet, I suggest learning that one. It's not too bad. There's a couple good setups for it. But if you do know the down slash, like a lot of the older guys just never switched because it's a little bit of annoying.
All right, Zero Rush taking that small key and immediately using it to go to check Ice Tea Room, gets the mirror.
Oh boy.
And immediately leaves. Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, a little risky. I mean, there's 8 items in Swamp, and at this point, there's 8 items in Swamp, and we can find 2 items to put us in go mode. So
Yep.
that's a pretty. I feel like that's a really smart, calculated gamble, as opposed to like in TR there was a lot more that was still left to be found. Plus, Ice Rod could have just been there, so it makes more sense to go all the way back there in a crystal dungeon than it does to keep going in this pendant dungeon, which again everyone hates. So the faster you can get out of it, the happier you are.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how Andy decides to route this Ice Palace. Nice hover. Because, going straight for Ice Tea Room, even when a lot of people, I feel like if they get a small key at Freezers, they'll just immediately backtrack to go do right side.
Yeah, I definitely would. So
usually they'll get a key then, and then they could either, then do the bomb jump or drop down from above. So it'll be interesting to see how he routes this. He might just do the exact same thing. But if he keeps checking stuff and happens to find Quake and Mirror, then that's GG right there. But
well, unless Fire Rod or Ice Rod is in Swamp, then I mean Zero will have to do a longer dungeon at that point. But he does have a little bit of a lead anyways. So I think if Zero ended up doing Turtle Rock with Ice Rod, assuming it's in Swamp, and assuming Quake is in Ice Palace, it's still either way at that point, which would be a hilarious ending.
I mean, that would be most ideal, that both these runners get to do their own set of 6 crystals. That would be, as you were saying earlier, that would be our ideal of 6/6. Like, I find that would be so much more interesting than just, no, you can only do these 6 dungeons. Sorry, your item is in GT.
Yeah, that was. I've done 1/6/6 and I blind pulled Ted, so my opinion of it is not sky high.
Well, we did find the cape here in Ice Palace. I haven't been counting items. I know there's still more. What do we got? Just a fire shield, so it's not looking good on Andy's side.
That will help him out in the blind fight, though, so.
What blind fight? What are you talking to? Get out of here. I'll never forget, I was doing like an expert swordless mode, and I went to the Curiosity Shop and bought a fire shield, which you're not allowed to have because it doesn't exist in like harder difficulties. And the commentators were like, "He can do that." I bought it just for the blind fight, and it was great. It saved me some time. Now the other thing is that mirror obviously opens up Swamp Palace, but at the same time, it also opens up a couple overworld checks. We could have something in Mimic Cave, which would be
Lord,
disgusting, but also great. But mostly disgusting. And it looks like Andy is going to continue in here.
Zero, you got to push the statue all the way to the wall. Yeah, the thing that really sucks. Mirror is one of those items you really hate having late. It can really it just makes your routing a lot easier. You can start comboing dark and light roll checks in together. The other thing is the overworld mirror checks. If you've cleared everything around them, they suck late because they're off by themselves in the middle of nowhere, and you hate it. So
I am a little surprised that he didn't check.
Double compass, double compass in the compass room.
I feel like I always like checking K45 and maybe Bombos prior to diving in Swamp, just in case I find my go mode item. This Swamp is having a whole lot of junk, so who knows? Maybe Cold Stare's holding on to something fancy. We're about to see over on Andy's side.
That makes sense checking before if you're for one item to go, like in this situation. And it's Cold Stare getting away from Andy a little bit. But we make it through. And no. No!
Holy cow!
Right, come on, Ice Rod on Argus. Ice Rod on Argus, please.
What a play.
One time.
Okay, so, here's the thing. If Argus has nothing, I feel like he'll still skip left side, but he'd probably go check like Bombos and K45. If he finds that Ice Rod, this could still be close, because Andy still has to do all the Swamp and then go do Mire. But, wow, the Cold Stare play. You wouldn't think that would happen, but that just happened.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. There's the big key.
All right, so there's 3 items left in Swamp. Curious to see if Zero Rush goes back in. But Andy's going to have short time here in Swamp. He gets to go mode it, so he gets to save a good chunk of time.
Yeah, this is... The problem is, even if Zero... I can't see him going back to Ice Palace right now. even let's say Ice Rod is somewhere in here. Zero's gonna have to do a much longer dungeon to get his 6 crystal than Andy. So this is definitely advantage Andy at this point.
Mm. Yeah, because even if he does find Ice Rod, unless he finds it in the big chest, like he'll probably be clearing Trinex by the time Andy probably killing it. I don't know that. Yeah, I really don't know the timing. And we're also talking about something that has a very low chance of happening. But
yeah, I mean it's really the only hope Zero has at this point. A little disappointing. It comes down to just that one decision right at the end.
Yeah, I was really hoping it'd come down to just like, I mean, we still have GT routing, but at this point, that's not going to be enough to really make a difference. But even if it was close, it could still come down to a coin flip in GT.
Yeah,
So.
I mean Zero's gonna have to beeline back to Ice Palace at this point for it to be even close, and I don't know. I feel like he's probably gonna do some of those mirror checks first.
I'm very concerned that he's continuing to skip the big chest, which he did get the big key off Argus. So.
Yeah, that's really, oof, that's not good. Hopefully he sees it's still closed right here and realizes, oh yeah, nope.
Huh. That is kind of strange.
This might be the ghost of NMG popping up, because you always do that on the way back after Lost Side Swamp. So it happens. Happens to the best of us.
Well, that's well, who knows? Ice Rod could still be over on the left side. He could be fine, but yeah, this is looking rough for our boy zerorush here. Andy has quite a tremendous lead, not only because he's in go mode, but he also does have those silver arrows, which will save him a bit of time against Ganon. So green potion, that's our 4th bottle. Come on, Ice Rod, show up. Make things interesting again. 10 arrows. And he remembers.
Yeah, he remembers. So the second seed was sort of determined by something similar. They were looking for the bow, and it was pendant Mire, pendant Ice. Zero went into Mire, Andy went into Ice, and it ended up being at Mire. Zero did have a bit of a lead, even if Andy followed him right into Mire in that seed. So, little less of a feels bad, whereas Zero was leading here up until this that one decision.
Yeah, the crazy thing is the time it took him, particularly because of missing the big chest, it took him the same amount of time for Andy to go mode swamp as it did for him to do left side swamp. So even if he does find the Ice Rod here, it's probably not going to be enough at this point. And just as a reminder for people watching, this is a 6/6 seed, which means you only need to clear 6 of your 7 crystal dungeons to get into GT and to beat Ganon. You only need 6. So we don't need Ice Rod unless we want Zero to keep this a little bit closer. Yeah, it was 6/6 with the MC shuffle, so the maps and compasses were randomized outside of the dungeon pool. But all right, I mean, if this isn't Ice Rod, it's either back to Ice. He might go back to Skull at that point. He could run all the way up and do Graveyard Ledge, just following these mirror locations.
Yeah, I can't
making his way into Misery Mire.
Going back into Ice Palace is that's kind of a play you make when you realize you've already lost. So if that's where it is, it's kind of the problem. The exact situation that Zero is in is why he's not going to go back to Ice, because if Andy did clear it, then Andy has the lead that he has right now, and if Andy didn't clear it, then Andy would be thinking the same thing. It's kind of like the prisoner's dilemma almost. Andy would be thinking the same thing, and they'd probably end up both doing it last. In which case, then it's just a race on execution again.
I'm curious though. I wonder if zerorush had routed Ice Palace a little bit differently and not gone straight to Ice Tea Room if he would have followed what Andy did and cleared the whole dungeon as well. Because I feel like for Andy, I already did all of Ice at this point. Getting the mirror, I might as well.
Here we go.
Just do it all of it. Fall, 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 fall. Make it, make it, make it, make it, make it. All right. The reverse psychology didn't work.
I thought you were just going with the probabilities, like which one was more likely based.
You're more likely to mess up hovering at the end. right before you get it, especially in multi-world if someone sends you an item. It's great.
The hardest part of hovering when you first learn it is you get like 10 pixels out. You're like, I'm gonna make it, and then you screw up your rhythm, and then you fall.
Yep. Dude, I almost hovered to the first chest in Hookshot Cave yesterday, and the exact same thing happened. Right at the end, I fell. I was like, no, I was so close. This would have been cool.
Andy, in case anyone wondering why Andy just face palmed into those blocks over there, he was trying to do the spooky glitch. I didn't. There's a lot of things that go into it. I didn't see any of his setups. His altitude variable is probably just a little bit off, so he ended up missing it, and he just has a dash setup. So it looks pretty hilarious when you fail that setup, because you just run into the blocks that didn't move. It's like the Roadrunner painting the the tunnel on the wall.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Zero Rush showing off the optimal strat in Mummy Hellway right there that Andy was not able to pull off before. It's really nice strat, really hard to pull off, pretty risky as well. Although with Blue Mail, you know, at this point, it doesn't really matter.
All right, well, that is our last crystal that we're going to be getting before heading into GT, which means we're going to be looking for that GT big key. Honestly, this race is pretty much over, so let's just get it over with and put it in the first couple chests. That'd be great.
Sure.
I don't really want to see more of GT than I need to. Let's just see that beautiful gauntlet.
Yeah, and nice. Zero having a very nice
fights.
Yeah, my fight, 9 out of 10, solid. Doing a little dash poke there on Moth doesn't take damage if you knock him into the spikes. You can do a dash poke when he's on there to get through it. And Andy executing the Waffle House, very nicely done. That is an incredibly difficult strat.
I love going for that. You just feel so good every time.
I'm still not brave enough.
Even if you have to hook shot the Dead Rock a couple times to get him out of the way, it's like, get out of my way. I'm doing something fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the easy strat is any less likely to get ripped by Dead Rocks.
All right, Zero's going to go turn in that green pen and get a heart piece, and then the question is, where are you going to go to next? I mean, I guess at this point, I could see him go for Pyramid, Catfish, or Hookshot over to check Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, he's just going to be doing all the most god-awful checks, so...
Did he? Oh my god, he still skipped the silvers in Skull Woods. Oh no.
No, he... Oh, that's right, he had... Alright, he did still skip the silver. Oh man. That was Zero.
Alright, well this is probably going to be Graveyard Ledge at this point. Yeah, it is kind of...
Or realizing he skipped the...
Oh, another dip in his skull.
Yeah, at this point, Zero... Oh, I didn't even realize the crystal cutscene.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I did 1-6 and it did not go well, so I didn't even get to that point.
It's even great when you only have, like, 2 crystals, and you just got these 2 dinky little crystals spinning around. You're like, alright, guys, you're doing great. Yeah, it is a little disappointing to see a race of this caliber kind of come down to basically one decision there at the end, but I mean, that's random for you. And
yeah, all these races have been close up until like kind of the last few decisions. I think the first one was probably the closest throughout, but that was a very linear seed, and it came down to just Andy just doing a little bit more efficient routing in that overall. The second one came down to that big, Meyer versus Ice Palace. If they both went the same way, it would have been good ending. And same with this. If Zero Rush had just headed to the back of Ice and killed Cold Stare, it would have been just as close.
All right, we're still looking for that big key. Probably going to find a couple small keys in here. And then I assume Andy's going to just keep going south, judging by the fact that he's killing the Stalfos.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I know he's not a big fan of the stupid route, which is what I call going...
Hey, man.
To the Stalfos room, mirroring out, going right to Compass room, mirroring out, going all the way left. Mostly because of this room, because he said every time he does that route, that room always has the big key, so he doesn't do it anymore.
Sounds like results-oriented thinking to me.
Hey, that happened to me yesterday. The exact same situation.
Oh, well then, you're right. It's 100%. I'm sorry.
It happened, so it must be true. I would still prefer. I would still like to see the ice rod outside of GT. So if it ends up on Catfish, that'd be cool, but a little too late, obviously.
You know, Andy's just gonna find it now, just to dash all of our hopes.
Yeah. Or he'll just get the big key and we'll just never see it. It just doesn't exist.
I love seeing runners drop these bombs in GT. It is the entire point of this is literally to save not even a menu because they have powder, but one menu tick. It is like the most minor thing ever, and
then,
these guys are still going for it. Yeah, it's great. And then you get more. Oh no, the 10 bombs.
You thought wrong.
It's always great.
That's awesome.
It's like I gotta get rid of all my bombs. It's just like here's a bunch of bombs. It's like a kid going, "Hey, you lost your bombs. I got some for you, mister."
Thanks, kid. Appreciate it. That's funny. All right, well, it's either we got Bob's chest, we got Ice Ramos, or we got right side compass room, or it could be tile room. You never know. And then if you're Andy, you're thinking like, there's no way Zero Rush would gamble tile room. Would never do that. You do get the mirror shield.
Best shield.
Good old lag at this point. It would only be good if it actually blocked BMOS beams, but it don't, so it's useless.
I like it because it's a big old meme. Mirror shield, best category. 2020.
Okay, that I can get behind.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got? Vanilla. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Get out of here.
Absolutely
And vanilla 10 arrows. That's great.
And not vanilla ruby.
Not vanilla. Pretty close.
Sure.
Two out of 3.
Not sure why he's opening chests there. He's got silvers. He's got master gold or tempered swords. He's got boots.
Just wanted to know if Ice Rod was in here. For us.
Meanwhile, so we're heading up the upstairs GT. This is just going to be a bunch of rooms, really high execution. 2 Mimics rooms right here. Again, these are some of the hardest rooms in the game. Mirror Shield already paying off, blocking that shot from that Mimic. Only the Mirror Shield will block that. Now we're heading to Spike Room. This room is really tough to learn. You can see Andy come over here, hit the switch, grab this pot, and he's going to dash down and avoid all the spikes. It's a pain to learn because any little thing in that room can throw off the strat, and when you're trying to learn it, you just it's really hard to diagnose what's going wrong. And very nice dash through Ganon Ball Z.
So at this point, going up the gauntlet, I kind of, with half magic, I kind of like to switch to Fire Rod. I know it's slower on like the Zigzags and whatnot because they actually have to like burn compared to like the Stalfos where they just insta die.
Yeah, it's good in G3 right there, especially the pattern Andy just got. A lot of players will save their menu to that point. If you see them going up, you can menu to it to kind of buffer the shot in and then shoot them up. And even though it takes time to burn, it's better than chasing after them in that conveyor room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Fire Rod's not really all that useful in G2. So usually you can even like use it in like G3 or G4 to kind of like read those guys and maybe use it to help you get a kill.
No, nice. Land ball is 2 from Andy as well. Only thing he has to do is remember to grab a small key from the mini Helma. I don't expect him to check any more chests, but you never know.
Looks like Zero is going to Mimic Cave. Honestly, this actually makes sense from his perspective. If this is the answer, Andy's very likely to last location this. So unfortunately, it's Ice Palace. It's not here, but I think at this point in Zero's mind, this makes more sense than going back to the location that if it is, it's probably not good for you, which we see it's not. Meanwhile, Andy in these torches room forgot to light that lamp, and he got through it. All right. And he's going to need this Helma key. Something I always forget if I only come over 1 key. And a very nice Helma key room. Until he slammed into the wall. And trying to get rid of those bombs again, and we did it!
Yeah, I like it because it switches to powder. And he's like, I'm not, and then he doesn't even use the powder. Not that he needs it or anything, but...
Yeah, if he didn't have the powder, it would have put him right onto a fire rod. And since he hovers mold on 2, because of course, he would just save a menu going into the Ganon fight, which is a whole 1 second.
Yeah, assuming you don't. I know most people like to use hookshot just to give yourself iframes for the Ganon fight, but yeah, if you're already at fire rod, well, I mean, would you use that for the torch glitch, or would you still menu to lamp?
No, yeah, just use the fire rod.
But the timing's so scary.
Just be smushed up against it and wait. Don't like predict it. Wait till it goes out and fire. And
are you telling me just to be good? Because if that's what you're telling me, I respect
maybe not
that.
good, but better.
I am interested to see what we have in Mimic Cave coming up here. And if it is the Ice Rod, then the seed is trash.
I totally ate it on Torch Glitch earlier in my run today, so, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
I see then. All right, pretty decent fight from Andy. I don't even know how many cycles that was. 5 cycle? And Heart Piece. All right, so that leads just Ice Palace left for Zero Rush. And for him, he's probably already knowing that he's lost at this point. So you don't want to have to dip back into Ice Palace at this point. But he hasn't seen the dot done, so he's hopeful. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Zero's only chance at this point is if Andy did the same exact thing as him. So. And Andy's gonna be hitting his Ganon fight. Phase 1 and Phase 2 are both 12s, swings with tempered. With tempered sword, there's just kind of canned strats to get through them. Andy not going to be using that hook shot, so just has to use alternative ways. This is one of the easier patterns, I think, to get through.
I love the dash strats.
Yeah, hopefully this Phase 3 will be slightly faster than Andy's Phase 3 from yesterday. Had a little trouble with it. But Ganon just 50-50 warps. This is just another source of energy. It is standardized in these random seeds, so it's the warps are not a determining factor. But you still gotta sit through them, and you still hate getting a bunch because, you know, screw Ganon.
Yeah, I think that kind of sucks for Zero Rush. He's not even gonna see the Quake before Andy finishes, and he'll more than likely probably forfeit at that point. But we'll see.
Yeah,
nice torch glitch, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, it does not matter with silvers.
It matters none because he has silvers, but that's gonna do it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying a little better because you can get that double in with where he ended up freezing Ganon. So.
All right, and with that, Andy is going to be securing a spot in the top 64 brackets on the winner's side. So he's going to be in the top 32. Get your GGs in chat for our winner today of this best of 3 set. That was, well, gosh dang it, that was pretty hype.
Yeah, you know, a good match. Unfortunately, just decided by 1 decision late. But you know, it was certainly up in the air for 90% of the seed until Andy held up that Quake on Cold Stare. Like Zero Rush looked like he was in a really good spot. And I think Zero Rush is going to end up forfeiting right here, which makes sense. You know, just there's a lot of game left. He's played this game enough.
Yeah.
He just wants to stop.
So I'm guessing Ice Route is probably
the right side G3
compass, or it could be upstairs. So we'll unfortunately never get to know. We'll never find out. It will remain a mystery for the rest of time.
Yeah, and I think we will be joined by Andy here in a second. GG.
GG.
So that Quake.
Yeah, it ended up working out super well, obviously. Not having any mirror locations to do is a pretty decent time safe.
Oh yeah,
this was super fun though. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it came down to those Turtle Rock plays, and what was interesting, like, you guys really did a lot of stuff similar. Basically, Zero skipped Escape, and you had skipped Desert Palace, and then after the big, like, TR loop, you each did the other thing, and then kind of, like, converged again. Zero was first into Ice Palace, he got the mirror and dipped, and then you, of course, went all the way down. So I guess that's what I'll ask. Why did you keep going?
It worked out better with the way I routed Ice Palace. Zero Rush got mirror like third chest in, so he had a lot more to do. But with it being my third to last chest, I knew there was one item left, and that big chest was quick enough to at least check. Because it was either a small key or the item, and at that point it was just like, might as well just finish it if you're going to the big chest.
Yeah, and it ended up working out. Yeah, the seed was really close until that one decision. So, I mean, kind of unfortunate the last two came down to just those kind of coin flippy choices. They've all been really close. I've seen all three of them. So it was just really good matches all around.
Yeah, that's how it goes with me and Zero Rush.
Oh,
Yeah, the fortunate thing is Zerorush is not out of the tournament yet. He still does have to play another set on the loser side of his group. So if he can manage to win that, he will make it into top 64. And who knows, we could get another matchup between these two, which would be great. I'd be all for that.
Maybe we'll actually get a fairy revival hover at one point.
At least I got the revival part today. Yesterday I just jumped early and died.
Baby steps.
But so like, man, I think, when was it? I think I was like doing Thieves Town, and I hadn't gone to pod yet, and I was like, man, this could be like a hookshotless, mirrorless seed where I'm forced to hover Fairy Revival to do Meyer or Hera and Turtle Run. It would have been crazy, but then I found Hookshot and pod, and it ruined my dreams.
I actually called it the second you found that bug net. Willard over here is like, yeah, he's not going to do that. It's crazy. I'm like, eh.
He wouldn't do it again.
And then we saw you go into the bonk rocks to get those fairies. Like, yeah, I think we know what's coming.
I should have. I meant to do it after Escape because I knew everything else in Escape was an item, and then I got the fairy first. I'm like, well, guess we're not getting Dark Cross, and then I got the lamp and Zelda cell, and I'm like, oh god, like now it's in logic, and I'm just gonna skip it and hope that nothing's there, I guess. But yeah, it was fun. I guess I got a little practicing to do.
Oh yeah, you never did Dark Cross, did you?
Nope.
It was 10 arrows, so you're fine.
Yeah, I skipped that. I guess the big things I skipped were that Spiral Cave and Spike Cave, Pyramid and Catfish or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spike Cave. I don't think we saw Pyramid at all. I don't think Zero did it either. Maybe at the end here when
He did. He ran over to. I'm pretty sure he ran over there and then went up to Catfish.
Yeah, that's right.
Or maybe he didn't. He might have done Graveyard Ledge to Catfish. I don't know. At that point, I mean, we were still looking for the Ice Rock because we still wanted the concept of being able to do T-Rock outside of GT, but
yeah, we were rooting for Ice Rod. When you found Quake, we were really hoping Ice Rod was gonna be like on Argus, and like you would have found it about the same time, and then it would have been a race between you going to Meyer and then Zero doing a pre-clear Turtle Rock, which would have been pretty fun to watch. But c'est la vie, Rando never gives us anything fun.
Yeah, it's a shame. Andy, you picked 6-6, right? This was your decision. You madman.
I love 6-6. So like the end of the seed ended up being like a triple Ice Rod hunt, basically.
Yeah.
It just leads to, and then if you get a ton of items early, it leads to like way more possibility for differentiation.
It's kind of the fun part about it because you really don't know what all your dungeons are going to be until, hour 20 in or something. Until you know. Which, yeah, it's fun because it's like, all right, because we were at one point, we were like, well, we're probably going to skip Swamp Palace because, Samaria is very required. But, of course, it ended up being Ice Rod and skipping T-Rock, the classic. But, yeah, congrats, man, on making it into the winner side of the top 32 of top 64 of the brackets. Must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, seed is, all relative in these rando tournaments. Top 64, you could like half of those people to win the tournament, basically.
Exactly.
If not more. Honestly, the real winning part here is that I don't have to do any more races in the group stage. That's what we were playing for today.
Yep. Now you can play more mystery seeds.
Exactly.
Get to relax to more rando. Could go for that 124, during your break.
let's see, maybe 2020 is the year of me getting out of the reach of Christos and all Link to the Past related things.
I think you're good. One day he'll do those 100 NMGs before Christmas of last year.
Hey, he's still got all dungeons on me.
Yeah. You could probably play that with your guys closed and beat it though. So.
I hope Chris comes back. Chris practicing for NMG is what let me PB again this year because we raced a bunch. So maybe he'll actually come back and light that fire.
Yeah, it would be you and Christos racing would. I'm sure the boys would enjoy it. We'll sit and leave it at that. But I'm not sure if Zero's going to come up.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I can ask, or you can ask, as you just did.
See if you get him in here. I don't know anything else you want to mention about the seed? What are you looking forward to in the brackets? Anything like that? Oh, Zero didn't get an invite. Let's see if we can fix that. Oh, he's coming in right now.
Yeah, I don't know. This set was really fun. We got fast travel of some sort very early in all three of these seeds. Which, you can't ask for something better than that, basically.
10-minute boots is pretty nice.
I think we had Boots in Sanctuary in Game 1, Flute and Mini Moldorm in Game 2, and Boots and Mini Moldorm in this seed.
I'm just glad you guys didn't both have red mail again.
We saw all three. We saw all three males. That was in Spiral Cave. Is what you missed was the blue mail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we're now joined by Zero Rush. GG Zero.
Hello, good games.
GG.
Yeah, so I saw you guys mentioning chat that basically came down to almost the same thing as yesterday, just being an Ice Palace. So I guess just why did you make the decision to skip out right after Mirror?
Well, so there was like 3 items I think left in Ice Palace and 8 items in Swamp plus all the mirror locations, and I needed one of 2 different items. So I figured it was more likely it wasn't in there, really, is what it came down to. I mean,
probability speaking, it made more sense. And
yeah, I actually called that out exactly when you did it, where it was like, I think it's a smart play. Unfortunately, I'm wrong, and I'm also out of the tournament, so you don't listen to me at all, like, even a little bit.
Yeah, when Andy was going into Ice Palace, I was like, all right, if Andy routes this differently, he might end up clearing it, because you went basically made a lot more sense for you to bail, because it's like, I don't really want to backtrack and do right side Ice Palace and then go back and do Cold Stare. So it definitely made sense to bail at that point. Fortunately, never saw that Ice Rod, so clearly it doesn't exist. Clearly we got unbeatable seed.
I going into Ice, I was like, well, I need 2 of 3 different Ice Rods. Then I found the Ice Rod in Ice, and I was like, all right, now I need 1 of 2 different Ice Rods. And unfortunately, I just couldn't find that Ice Rod,
Just sounds like planky sanity, really.
Yeah. I don't know. I think even if I had stayed, I wouldn't have done Cold Stare. With the way Andy routed it, it made sense. Because there was only 1 item left, and he was right next to it, but I don't know if I would have stuck it out anyway. So it probably would have been the same result. Just because it takes it's not that long, but it's like an extra 45 seconds to a minute at least, which at that point in the seed is a lot, considering how much stuff I skipped. Because I think, I can't remember if I did Hyrule Castle before or after Ice, but I do specifically remember when I found the Lantern, I felt really, really far behind because Andy usually does Hyrule Castle early, and I struggled kind of a lot in Pod. That took way longer than it should have.
Yeah, you did Hyrule Castle before Ice, because basically the difference was Andy skipped Desert Palace, you skipped Escape, and then right after Turtle Rock, you did the other one and then you both went into Ice Palace. Andy was lagging behind you about like 30-ish seconds at that point, and then it was you found the mirror, you dipped, and then Andy found Quake, and that was pretty much the end of the game.
How sick would it have been though if Ice Rod was the first chest in Swamp?
That's what I was calling for Ice Rod and Argus, so that you had to go do Turtle Rock. Andy would have been doing Misery Mire, and it would have just been even a little disadvantage there, just because Turtle Rock's a little bit longer. But especially it was a God Mire today, so it was a really quick dungeon for Andy. But that would have been good TV. Yeah,
it would have been close because we both had to climb Death Mountain again, anyways. If that ended up happening.
Yeah.
I think Andy probably would have taken it in that situation, just especially with the Mire layout. But
And especially with the silvers that he had from Skullwoods that he got earlier.
Yeah, by the way, they're in the big chest of Skullwood Zero.
Yeah,
He did get them. He got them on his third trip.
Yeah, I called it because you guys both found the bow at like similar times. I was like, well, neither one is going to find silvers because they've purple chest sucks and Zero skids back of Skullwood, so they're never finding those. And then everything I say is wrong is what you should take from this.
That was really tilting too, because I found the fire rod early, and then I found the bow and mirrorless purple chest, which when you do mirrorless purple chest and it pays off, that feels really good. And then I just went directly to pod where I found the hook shot. But then I found the other bow, and I was like, wow, the one time I don't do the back chest in Skullwoods, it's the bow and the easier bow. So I didn't have to make like 3 extra trips to Kakariko Village.
And it nullifies your big payoff. It's it's a bad thing to find late in that seed, and that is what Andy ended up getting. So
yeah, I did I did Thieves Town, got a map from Sea House, which I think was like my last piece of information. So I decided to do Hammer, Pegs, and Smith, just to get back to the light world, see my last piece of information, and then I ended up doing Skullwoods into Purple Chest because I didn't have Mirror or Cape yet, so I was like, let's just bail on North Dark World and do other stuff instead.
Yeah, I think this is actually kind of interesting because I think I knew what every pendant and crystal was before like 30 minutes, maybe even earlier than that.
Yeah, after you beat Desert.
Pendant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, did you guys even find the desert map, or did you both figure it out when the pendant dropped?
I found the eastern map, which it was a 50-50 between eastern and desert for me.
Oh, okay, so you eliminated that way. Yeah, makes sense.
The only other question I have, Zero, was when you went back into Swamp Palace, you skipped the big chest and did left side first. Was that just a brain fart or something?
Yeah, because I got the big key off Argus, but I didn't process that. I didn't think I got the big key. I thought I didn't get what I was looking for. And then I went to left side swamp, and then it said 9 out of 10 at the top. And I was like, wait a minute.
The compass paying off.
Something wrong here. All right. I figured. But that was...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying we were debating with escape. It's like, so did he forget escape, or and then you went to it like, okay, all right, you didn't forget this time.
Yeah, no, I didn't forget it. When I went into Turtle Rock, because the entire seed I was kind of keeping track of where things were, because the fire rod required the lantern, and Bombos required the lantern, because it was in the pod maze, and Turtle Rock was Bombos locked, so I figured Lantern was most likely the logical access to Death Mountain, and I assumed one of the locations I skipped had it. And then I found Flute, of course, in Turtle Rock, and which confirmed it, so I wasn't too concerned about it. But when I did find it, because I was still looking for one item, I figured it was probably bad for me, given how long the dumb pod maze took me because of the stupid Dodongos being at literally every single corner shooting fire repeatedly.
Yeah, after the failed hammer jump too, so...
Yeah, I lost quite a lot of time in pod.
Yeah, pod will do that to you. But I think that's pretty much it. Willard, unless you have anything else to say, or Zero or Andy, any thoughts or comments?
No, good games, Andy. Every time we play, it's always a great series, I think. So
Yeah, see you in the finals.
yeah.
I think the only thing we didn't get in this series was just a true like close ending, unfortunately. They all broke very, very late. So
Yeah.
We didn't get a tie, but there's still time.
Thank God though. Like if
Thank
we
God.
match, I don't know, because the other person in the group, I think, is out this weekend. So I have to do like another best of 3 in the next 2 days or something.
Oof.
But
Well,
to
good luck
throw
with
a
that.
tie- Yeah, to throw a tie on top of that, like one of us is going to be cramming.
Yeah.
Best of 3.
Well, that was a fantastic race. GG's to both of our runners. Of course, I'm sure you guys enjoyed that as well. There's plenty more speed gaming or Link to the Past randomizer action going on right now. You can head over to Speed Gaming 2, where we have Matt 7898 taking on Mac and X in that best of 3 scenario. This was a lot of fun. I had a blast. If you guys enjoyed me and Apathy Duck's commentary, please feel free to support us in any way you see fit, whether you want to follow us on the things. Of course, follow these runners as well. They're fantastic. Follow the Speed Gaming channels. You know the works. I've been Willard J. Bradley. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.